Paddy Broughton, halfway around the world, 2 days out from the Fastnet Race. You must be relieved you're here.
Very relieved, yeah. And for us, it completes a circumnavigation that we started in 2017. We took part in the Rolex Fastnet Race 2017 and then sailed from here to Sydney via South Africa and did the 17 Hobart race. So coming back this way after the 22 Hobart to take part in the 50th Fastnet is a completion of circumnavigation. And as you say, we're quite relieved to be here.
And it's an important one too, because it's the 50th as well. So,
yeah, the 50th Fastnet Race is going to be quite a big celebration. So it's 100 odd years since the first one. We took part in the 75th Hobart, and we also took part in the 50th Transpac, because that's run every other year as well. So as part of our project, we've had quite a number of anniversaries.
And this one fits into the piece we were talking about in Hobart, really, which is they are pretty extraordinary, these 600 milers, aren't they? There's something about them.
They are. They're a real test of crew and yacht. And the Fastnet Race has always had a reputation for being a really technical race. The weather is obviously very changeable as it hits the European coast. The technicalities of tidal gates are extraordinary and way harder than anything we do broadly in Sydney. I mean, you come out of the heads and turn right. Yes, you break the race down and all the rest of it, but getting through the Solent, getting past Portland Bill, and this time because it's finishing in Cherbourg now, coming past the Alderney race, it's really there's a lot more information you have to try and digest before the race.
And because those are fixed to tides and so on, you can only plan it so far. So presumably, if you know you're going to be against a tidal gate, you're doing something differently before, yeah?
That's right. You tend to take a wider line and come round the outside, because if you're right on the inside, you'll get the absolute worst of the tide. But you have to make those calls quite a long way off, because it's no good getting close and then going, oh, we got it wrong, let's go out. You'll miss the point.
And then, as if that wasn't hard enough, you've got traffic separation lanes as well.
The traffic separation lanes, for anybody who's sailed here as you have, are kind of part and parcel of life on one of the busiest waterways, or probably the busiest waterway in the world. And the RORC somewhat cleverly has put at least one of them as a mark on the course, so that's quite good. They work well. They really are barriers. On Expedition, the software we use, you actually put a big red box around them, and then all your routing goes around the outside and you're not allowed in them.
So with the forecast we've got now, and it's changed a bit actually, hasn't it? What's it mean for Kialoa?
Well, the forecast went from being very, very light, which was a bit worrying for us because we do need a bit of breeze to get rolling, to an absolute howling headwind for the first day and a half, and then possibly quite light to get across the Irish Sea, and then a really nice run home at a nice pressure for us at the moment. But it's going to be a pretty heavy work getting out of the Solent and along the south coast.
And what sort of things have you done to the boat? Obviously, you've needed to get it settled in after your long ocean voyage and so on. Have you done any changes before or since?
We've done some minor rigging changes of things that we worked out on the way. So we've gone to a 2-for-1 on the backstay on the mizzen. We've had to put a whole new furler and forestay in because of the accident we had leaving New Zealand trying to get around Cape Horn. But broadly the boat's the same. Obviously a lot of servicing is required when you've sailed however many thousand miles it is. I think it's probably about 20 odd thousand miles. There's a lot of stuff on the boat that needs to be worked on just to make sure she's in racing condition, and we've spent the last 3 weeks basically doing that.
And you mentioned New Zealand and everything. Things didn't quite go to plan once you'd left Sydney. Tell us in brief what went on. Yeah,
well, our original plan was to sail Sydney to Upua, and then from Upua to Ushuaia and go round Cape Horn. We left Upua just in front of Cyclone Gabriel, which was brewing quite nicely, but we certainly didn't want to be in New Zealand and get belted by it. So we scooted out quite nicely in front of that, and we're going really well. The mileages were all picking up, the breeze was on the quarter, the boat was going brilliantly, and the forestay stem fitting just failed. And at night, of course, these major things only ever happen at night, and we had the whole forestay and the jib just flying off on one side, suspended by the sheet and the head of the sail. So we ran downwind, tidied it all up, spent about 8 hours the next day getting the foil off so that we could actually just use the forestay, and then turned up to Tahiti because that was the nearest place that we could get a fix. We couldn't turn back to New Zealand because Gabriel was still making a mess of New Zealand, and we didn't feel it was safe to continue to Ushuaia because of the damage, or the potential damage. I mean, the rig was fine and all the rest of it. So we sailed into Tahiti and got a really good fix there from a couple of really interesting Tahitian guys, welding and engineering company. Really, really good fun and very skilled. And then decided, right, we didn't have the time to go around Cape Horn, so we changed course, came through Panama to Antigua, Azores and to Falmouth, where we first hit England.
And relatively uneventful for the latter half then, yeah?
Uneventful, just a pain in the backside because the weather was really quite extreme. And by that I mean it was very unusual. They had an incredible high pressure system over the whole of the top of Northern Ireland and the UK, which meant that we just had these strong easterlies all the way from the Azores. So we beat all the way from the Azores, so didn't get any of the usual.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, you'd normally expect to get a front come through and flick you through, but and so by the end of it, we were all a bit fed up with working to windward, which we're about to go and do about 2 or 3 days of now. So,
and tell us a bit about the crew. Certainly some folk who've done a fair few miles as well.
Everyone on the boat has sailed the boat in major races before. So even the English crew have done either the last Fastnet race or a bunch of the Channel races, or indeed come over to Australia or to LA and done the Transpac or the Hobart with us. So that's a really nice thing about the kind of Kialoa family that we've developed. But we've got Lindsay May aboard as again, and Andrew Cutler and Genevieve White, and those guys are really stalwarts of the team, and they've been really good fun and great to have aboard.
And it takes a bit to victual a boat this sort of size and this crew, so you're probably relieved there is a bit of breeze and not too light.
Well, exactly. You're feeding 17 people. You do need your freezer and your fridges, and you do need a big cooker because you want to make sure they're fed well. But 17 people is a lot of food.
Kialoa II's done 3 Fastnets starting, from the 60s, yeah?
Hopefully this will be the third if we complete it. Yeah, so it did 1969, and then we did it in 2017, and hopefully we'll do it again this time. And every time she sailed on her own bottom to get to the races and all the rest of it. Yeah.
Fantastic. And then what's the plan after this?
We're very sadly going to sell her. When we first started the project back in 2016, our idea was to do the major ocean races and follow in Jim Kilroy's footsteps. We've pretty much done that. The only one we missed, sadly, was Newport, Bermuda, and that was a kind of a COVID issue. We just simply couldn't get there easily. And the 50th Fastnet was always the full stop. So we've reached here. We've really enjoyed it, but it's probably time to go and do something different.
Well, she's got such extraordinary pedigree and vintage and a very storied history that one hopes she goes on to new owners and good things, yeah?
Well, exactly. We would like to think that she'll go to someone a bit like us, well, insofar as anyone can be a bit like Keith and I, but someone who'll love her and sail her well and campaign her and won't want to put teak decks and powered winches and change the rig or anything like that, but we'll love her for what she is, who's an old classic and an ocean racer.
Well, all the best for the race, and we look forward to hearing how you go.
Thank you very much. Very nice to see you guys down here. Friendly faces in a foreign country.